If you're searching for an inverter to use in your RV so you can have power while you're boondocking, the Victron Multiplus is a rock-solid inverter so you can rely on for all of your power needs. It is both an inverter and a charger, which means it'll use your batteries when you need power, and it'll charge your batteries when you're plugged into a generator or the power grid. Now I know this isn't an actual inverter, this is a front panel off it. The inverter is mounted inside the RV because we're using it right now. Inverters work by taking battery power and turning it into AC power, and your batteries get charged by solar or being plugged in. If you have a good inverter like the Victron Multiplus, you won't have to struggle with it every time you need power. When I'm camping off-grid, I have plenty of power for all the outlets inside my RV without having to run the generator. I can run the microwave, the Instant Pot, the fridge, computers and electronics, as long as I'm running all those big appliances at the same time. So now let's get into why the Victron Multiplus is great for RVs. Victron is very reliable, and their inverters are smart and built well. They also have a team of employees who specialize in RVs. That way they can make sure all of their inverters meet the power needs RVs have. It also works with the batteries you already own. It'll work with traditional lead-acid batteries, AGM, or lithium. When you're setting up an inverter, you can set your voltages you want to charge at for the batteries that you have. My favorite feature is a phone app. I can control the power assist, turn the inverter on or off, or just see what it's doing. Keep watching and I'll show you how the phone app works. Now let's get into some of the details on a Victron Multiplus inverter. Since my RV batteries are 12 volt, I bought the 12 volt 3000 voltage amp inverter, which equals 2400 watts of continuous power. One of the biggest advantages of the Victron Multiplus is the power assist feature. Now let me give you an example. If I'm running off a generator, it has a 30 amp breaker, and I need more power than the 30 amps, the inverter will make the additional power from the batteries. This is a huge benefit when I'm boondocking or plugged into a 30 amp campsite or plugged into a standard house outlet that can only output 15 amps. And if you didn't know, not all power is made the same. There's two different types of sine wave inverters. You have a pure sine wave and modified sine wave. Now let me explain what that means. A pure sine wave is the same power you get from a utility company. It's a smooth alternating current that won't damage your electronics. A modified sine wave is a chunky current that is not delivered evenly. If you're running things such as microwaves or CPAP machines, they might work, but they're going to run hotter, you might hear a buzzing noise, and it will shorten their lifespan if you're running them off a modified sine wave inverter. The Multiplus uses pure sine wave, so you don't have to worry about damaging your electronics. So how do you know what inverter is the right one for your setup? This inverter will work with 30 amp or 50 amp RVs. I have a 50 amp RV and 3 100 amp hour Batterborn lithium batteries, and this 12 volt 3000 voltage amp inverter runs everything I need. I didn't have to do a complicated wiring setup. The only thing I did was move an air conditioner from one side of the breaker panel to the other, so it wouldn't try to run off the inverter. Each system is different, and you can run an air conditioner off of this inverter as long as you have enough battery power. You just need to customize your system to fit your needs. Victron makes different sizes of inverters that can output less power if you need something smaller. A smaller inverter will take up less space, save you weight and battery power because it takes less energy to run it. Having a bigger inverter when you only need a smaller one is like putting a big engine in a small car. The big engine will power the car just fine, but get less miles per gallon. Putting a smaller engine in the car will provide it the power it needs while being more energy efficient. And if you're using something different than a 12 volt setup, Victron makes bigger inverters that run off battery systems that are 24 or 48 volts. A few other notes as you're building your inverter system. If you're looking at the Amazon listing and it shows this thing weighing 1 pound, that is incorrect. This 12 volt 3000 voltage amp inverter weighs 40 pounds. An important part to having a reliable system is having a proper size wiring. You can look up a wiring size calculator to verify the size of wire you'll be using is suitable for the amps you'll be putting through it. And now, let me show you how the phone app works. Once you open up the Victron app, we can see our inverter. We'll click on it, open it up. Remember, to use this Victron app, you do need a Bluetooth dongle to hook into the inverter. On this main screen, we'll see you have AC in, AC out, our battery voltage. This is where we turn it on and off, and this is our power assist. Now let's go into the power assist. You have presettings on here, 50 amps where I'm normally at. You go all the way down to 7.5 amps if you want to. If I hit 2 amps, it won't go that low. You'll see it only goes to 7.5. Now if I'm going to use my generator, which has a 30 amp breaker, I'm going to go to 27 amps so I don't max out that breaker. And I bump the up arrow to go to 27 amps. Once I hit OK, see this will change to 27 amps. Now it'll only take 27 amps from the AC in. Now if I want to turn the inverter on or off, hit this button. You see different options of on, off, charger only, or inverter only. I only use the functions of on, off, or charger only. So we want to do any of those options, hit the button and OK. Now you'll see it says charger only. I'll go back in and change it and turn it off. Now you see the AC in is not on. It put a little disconnect up here, and my ring system told me the battery backup is on, so power is off inside the RV. Now we'll go ahead and turn it back on. Now everything is functioning just like it was before I turned it off. On the bottom here, you can see it says inverting, because now we run off battery for a second, and it'll flip back to float because it's set its normal voltage. If we go over one screen to detailed, you can see the battery temperature and your voltage here on this screen as well. And that's all there is to using the Bluetooth app for the Victron inverter.